The conference room was thick with that sterile corporate air, the kind that clings to your skin like a bad decision. I stood there, hands steady on the edge of the polished oak table, as Ethan Caldwell, my new boss, the golden boy from Stanford with his gelled hair and perpetual smirk, leaned forward and said it. "Laura, we're letting you go. Effective immediately." His voice carried across the room, loud enough for the entire dev team to hear through the glass walls. Heads turned, whispers started, but I didn't flinch. He slid a folder across the table, the non-compete agreement inside it like some twisted consolation prize. "That means no coding gigs for the next year. Hands off the keyboard." He actually winked, like this was a game. I packed my laptop, my notebooks filled with sketches of algorithms and system flows, and walked out. No tears, no scene. But as the elevator doors closed, I felt that quiet fire ignite, the one I'd been tending for months. 3 weeks before that moment, before Ethan's power trip turned into my exit, I was still the ghost in the machine at TechForge Solutions. Our office in downtown Seattle overlooked the Puget Sound, but I rarely looked up from my screens. Dual monitors glowing, lines of code scrolling like secrets I alone could decipher, a thermos of black coffee, and my noise-canceling headphones blocking out the world. That was my sanctuary. While everyone else chased promotions and happy hours, I built the backbone of our platform, the adaptive AI scheduler that handled multi-user workloads without a hitch. I'd fixed bugs that could have tanked million-dollar deals, optimized queries that shaved seconds off response times, turning them into savings our clients raved about. And Ethan? He swooped in 6 months ago. All buzzwords and bravado. He was the type. Ivy League polish. LinkedIn posts about disrupting paradigms, always in a crisp button-down. On his first day, he gathered us in the break room and declared, "Tech isn't about lines of code anymore, it's about vision." He paused by my desk, eyeing my stack of paper notebooks where I jotted down pseudocode and database schemas. "Retro chic? You jotting poetry or something?" I met his gaze evenly. "Paper outlasts servers sometimes. Code's only as good as its foundation." He chuckled, that condescending ripple that made my skin crawl, and moved on, muttering about bringing us into the cloud era. I didn't argue. I just noted it in my personal log, a Google Doc I kept hidden, time-stamped entries of every slight, every change he pushed through without consulting the team. His first month was a whirlwind of chaos. He axed 2 veteran devs for resisting innovation after they pointed out his new CI/CD pipeline would introduce vulnerabilities. He mandated commit messages follow his optimized format, inspired by some TED Talk he'd binge-watched. When I quietly emailed him about how his rollback tweaks could cascade into downtime during peak loads, he replied with a single line, "Focus on your lane. Laura, we've got big-picture thinkers for that." Big-picture thinkers. As if staring at white bards all day made him a genius. That's when I started documenting everything meticulously. Not out of paranoia, but preparation. See, 2 years back, our CEO, Alex Rivera, had pulled me aside for a special project, revamp our core scheduling algorithm for enterprise scalability. No fanfare. Just build it solid. Laura. No rush. I poured weekends into it, coding through the night with nothing but energy drinks and the hum of my home setup. When it went live, it boosted efficiency by 58%, cutting costs and earning us rave reviews. But by then, Ethan was in charge, and they rebranded it the Caldwell Optimizer. My commits were buried, but not erased. I had the Git history, the initial specs I'd drafted, and, crucially, the inventor affidavit I'd filed under Washington's tech IP laws. It was a quiet filing, nothing flashy, but it locked in my authorship for any licensed tech. Ethan didn't know. No one did, except me and the state records. He thought he was playing chess with PowerPoints and pep talks. I was playing the long game, with evidence as my pieces. Monday rolled around, and Ethan's Slack ping hit the team channel. Leadership refresh. Check your invites. Mine was missing. The committee I'd co-founded, the one overseeing every major update and crisis response, now excluded me. No reason given. I refreshed my email, stared at the empty calendar slot, and felt that slow burn deepen. Instead of raging, I opened my log and added, exclusion from Scheduler Oversight Committee. Date, timestamp. Potential impact, unreviewed changes to core IP. Then I ran a quick diff on the latest repo polls. Sure enough, his refresh had already slipped in a latency glitch under heavy traffic. I sipped my coffee, letting the bitterness match the moment. By midday, Ethan was parading through the open plan office with a sales rep, gesturing wildly. She's solid on maintenance, but we need visionaries leading the charge. Maintenance. That's what he called architecting the scheduler that powered our flagship product, the one that averted a data loss scare for a major bank client last year. I didn't confront him. I highlighted maintenance in my notes and cross-referenced it with the IP statute I'd bookmarked. Section 47.2. Non-competes void if termination involves certified IP originators. I printed it, tucked it into my notebook, and waited. Around 2:30, he sauntered by my desk, chatting with a junior dev, and spotted my notebooks again. Still clinging to the Stone Age.
Huh.
We'll digitize all that soon. Welcome to efficiency. The junior laughed awkwardly. I didn't. I just added public mockery of documentation methods. 2:37 p.m. to my log. 2 days later, an email popped into the client support inbox from our biggest account, a logistics giant with a multi-million renewal on the line. Subject: query on scheduler tolerances. They CC'd me specifically, seeking input from the original architect. Ethan's response was pure fluff. Our agile framework ensures seamless scalability. Their reply: Laura, can you elaborate? The crack was showing. The world outside our walls remembered who built what. Ethan forwarded the thread to me with a curt handle it. Keep it simple. So I did, precisely. I laid out the tolerances, referenced commit hashes, explained the rationale behind each threshold. Signed off as Laura Hayes, systems architect. Their compliance officer responded, appreciate the detail. Laura, we'll reference your docs in our audit. I started, knowing it was the first thread in a web that would tighten around him. I hadn't built the scheduler for glory. I'd built it to endure. And endurance has a way of revealing truths. Thursday morning, 10 minutes before the quarterly integration sync, I spotted the flaw. Not a glaring bug, but an insidious one. His committee's tweaks had altered the priority queue in the scheduler, potentially delaying alerts during multi-user surges. It wouldn't crash. It'd just bleed efficiency, risking SLA breaches across dozens of clients. I printed a 3-page analysis, code snippets, logic flows, risk projections, slid it into my meeting prep like a hidden blade. The room filled up, our team on one side, the client's reps on the other, 3 execs, 2 engineers, and their sharp-eyed liaison, Mia Torres. Ethan arrived fashionably late, phone in hand, projecting that fake hustle. Let's dive into the roadmap, excited for sign-off next week. Half an hour in,
He nodded at me. Laura,
give them the high level on legacy flows. I walked through it methodically. Triggers,
fallbacks.
prioritizations. When I reached the issue, I said it plainly. Recent changes to line 814 in the handler could compound delays under concurrent loads. No errors thrown, but potential for SLA slips. He cut me off sharp. We don't air dirty laundry in client meetings.
Laura.
Stick to the positives. The room went still. A sales lead cleared his throat. One client engineer paused mid-note. Mia leaned in, watching not him.
But me.
I didn't react. Just reached for my notebook. Flipped to the tabbed page. Washington's IP protection clause for inventors. My finger rested on the text as Ethan rambled about resilient architectures. Mia caught a glimpse, enough to see the header. No drama. Just the quiet weight of law. The meeting dragged on without my input. Ethan hyped the optimized stack. Laughter from our side. But the clients stayed stone-faced. As we filed out, Mia hung back. Then a young client dev whispered, "You designed this whole thing, right?" I nodded once. He smiled faintly. Thought so. The code feels intentional. The code always remembers. It began subtly, an email from the client's legal advisor. Nolan Reed. Historical architecture clarifications. Available for a quick call? No fluff. No CCs. I replied. Thursday, 10 a.m. Zoom or secure line. He picked secure. The call cut straight. Our review traces key scheduler components to your commits and designs. I confirmed, reading from my notes. Authored under CEO directive. Off-hours development. Filed under State IP Cert 78.4. I shared scans, affidavits, original blueprints, patent addendums. Nolan's voice sharpened. This changes our compliance lens. Thank you for the candor. The veil was lifting. They saw the foundation, not the facade. Back at TechForge, Ethan paraded like a peacock. Streamlining the talent pool, he announced in an all-hands. Velocity over vintage. A vague wave toward my desk. Someone applauded weakly. I skipped it. On a call with the client's compliance head. They'd spotted license chains routing through my credentials, the master key the scheduler demanded. Without that, it's non-compliant, they noted. I let the implication hang. Legal gears turned, piecing together timelines where my role wasn't peripheral, it was pivotal. The air in the renewal summit felt charged, like static before a storm. Ethan had gone all out. Catered lunch. Glossy agendas titled Future-Proofing Your Infrastructure. He stood at the head. Ty asked you for that relatable vibe. I sat at the end. A slim folder before me. Hair pulled back. No distractions. My badge, the inventor cert one. Not the employee ID clipped subtly. The client's team arrived, Mia, Nolan, and their lead investor, Victor Lang. Watch gleaming like a warning. Ethan launched in, proud of our decoupled synergies and elastic predictions. Buzzword salad. 15 minutes later, Mia interjected, confirm these align with original licensing? Ethan. Absolutely. Cleaned up legacies while honoring tolerances. I spoke softly. What do you mean by tolerances? He spun. Annoyed. Questioning me now. Laura? You handle basics, I drive strategy. The room chilled. Mia's gaze hardened. Nolan stopped scribbling. I unclipped my badge. Slid it over. State sealed. QR code. My name, Laura Hayes. Certified inventor. IP ref, 78.4. Mia examined it first. Passed it along. Victor's eyes narrowed. You know her role? Ethan stammered. She was on the team. Not on, I corrected evenly. Architect. Victor set it down. We'll need to reassess your briefs. Questions shifted to me. Ethan's empire cracked under the weight of ignored truths. Nolan didn't yell. He articulated, voice dropping like a verdict. Progress halts without the inventor's sign-off. Ethan's laugh cracked. She's just a coder, replaceable. The investor, Victor, stood. She holds the IP cert. Tamper. And you breach contract. Ethan scanned for allies. Mia's arms crossed. Our PM avoiding eyes. Even his pet Junior silent. I adjusted my badge, letting silence amplify. His authority was smoke, mine. Steel beams. By 1:52 p.m., Ethan's Slack access vanished from the renewal channel. Topic updated. Coordination lead. L. Hayes. HR emailed. Role discussion availability. I ignored it, letting uncertainty brew. At 3:15, CEO Alex returned from a Vegas conference, clutching a scheduler license printout. He paused by my desk. How'd he miss she build it? I stayed silent. The question answered itself. At 3:58, the client portal pinged. Walkthrough required by inventor Hayes pre-sign-off. I opened my notebook to the variant section. No slides, just diagrams. Voice steady. They listened. Mia querying. Nolan nodding at my preemptive routings.
Efficient, he said.
Approval came swift. Conditions met. Compliance green. I closed the notebook. Walked out. No fanfare needed. The system demanded me. The mediation room reeked of stale ambition. Flickering lights. Neutral walls. I sat in gray. Folder ready. Ethan across. Polished but frayed. His lawyer shuffling. Our counsel, Derek, started the recorder. They painted my exit as defiant, citing my new consulting LinkedIn. Ethan smirked. Then Derek read the statute. Non-competes void for terminated IP originators post-August. He eyed Ethan. Termination date? June-ish. I interjected. June 5th. 10:47 a.m. Email attached. Derek exhaled. Claim unenforceable. Potential company breach. Silence thrummed. Ethan's team recessed. Returned. Claims dropped. I left without a glance. By week's end, the client offered me a direct contract. 18 months. Triple pay. Full control. No restrictions. Bold clause. Oversight by Hayes exclusively. Ethan's board met urgently. Negligence echoed in his dismissal. His farewell email bounced, badge gone. A client dinner later. A young analyst asked, "How stay calm?" I replied, "The code knows its creator." He nodded. Exiting, I passed their tech hall, my cert framed, unadorned. Not triumph, but truth enduring. But that wasn't the end. The ripple effects started small, like a pebble in a pond, but they grew. Word spread in Seattle's tech circles, whispers at meetups, anonymous posts on Glassdoor. TechForge fumbled their core architect. Recruiters pinged me daily. But I was selective. My new setup, a home office with views of Rainier. Consulting for firms that valued substance over shine. The client's renewal locked in. But they expanded, referrals poured in, each citing my unmatched expertise. Ethan? LinkedIn showed him, exploring opportunities, posts toned down. I heard through the grapevine he'd landed at a startup. But it folded quick, rumors of leadership mismatches. No schadenfreude from me, just observation. The law had evolved, protecting creators like me from corporate erasures. Washington's statutes set precedents, inspiring similar bills elsewhere. One evening, sipping tea on my balcony, Alex called apologetic, offering reinstatement with perks. "We need you back." I paused, feeling the weight lift. The system's fine without the noise. Hung up. Freedom tasted like quiet code runs at dawn. Yet, doubts lingered. Had I been too passive? Should I have fought louder? But no, patience was my weapon, evidence my shield. In a world of fast pivots, permanence wins. Months later, at a tech conference in San Francisco, I presented on IP in agile environments. The room packed. Questions flew. One attendee, a wide-eyed intern, asked, "How do you protect your work from being stolen?" I smiled faintly. "Document everything. Code doesn't lie." Applause followed. But the real win was the connections, firms seeking authentic architects, not buzzword slingers. Back home, I revisited my logs, now archived. Each entry a reminder: resilience isn't volume, it's depth. Ethan's downfall wasn't my doing. It was the inevitable crash of unchecked ego against solid foundations. The story circled back when a journalist reached out for a piece on women in tech. I shared anonymized details, focusing on laws empowering creators. Published. It sparked debates, non-competes scrutinized, IP rights amplified. In quiet moments, I coded side projects, free from oversight. The scheduler evolved under my consult. Clients thriving. Life balanced. Hikes in the Cascades. A coffee with friends who knew the full tale. But echoes remained. What if I'd spoken up sooner? Would it change anything? Probably not. Systems self-correct when built right. One rainy afternoon, a package arrived, my framed cert from the client, with a note, "For the architect who builds more than code." I hung it, a quiet emblem. As seasons turned, TechForge restructured, new leadership emphasizing collaboration. Ethan faded from feeds, perhaps learning humility elsewhere.
My path? Clear.
Coded in permanence. The true lesson lingered. In the rush of innovation, remember the builders. They hold the keys, even when hidden. Reflecting on it all, from that humiliating firing to the framed recognition, I realized power isn't in titles, it's in creation. The code I wrote wasn't just lines, it was legacy, unerasable. And in America's tech landscape, where laws catch up to protect the innovators, stories like mine become blueprints for others. If there's a moral, it's this: build quietly, document fiercely, and let the truth code its own path. The bungs and bursts of corporate drama fade, but what you create endures. In the end, as I type this on a serene evening, watching the sound's waves, I feel not vengeance, but peace. The shadow I cast wasn't revenge, it was illumination. And that's the real power.